Hello and welcome to another video about MIDICube. Since my last video, I again did quite a few updates, and in this video, I also managed to install it on a Rock Pi, which you can see here, and I built this little case with a display. So it's now a standalone synthesizer without the need of a computer to use it, just a MIDI keyboard. And in this video, I will show you around, show you its basic features, explain it, and play a little demo. First of all, I want to state that I'm just learning to play keyboard. So this video is not intended to show my keyboard playing skills, but to demonstrate the sounds of the synthesizer. So please forgive me any mistakes that I will make during this video. Let's get right into it. So the synthesizer has 3 sound engine. In fact, it has 4, a drum engine also, but I'm gonna remove that soon and replace it. So the 3 main engine are a sample-based sound engine, which is also in active development. So there are still a lot of features missing, but there's still some features there. B3 organ emulation, which is already pretty advanced. It's maybe too much, but it has a lot of features already, and it doesn't sound that bad, I think. Which doesn't use any samples, is all so-called physical modeling. And the third engine is the synthesizer engine, which you can create analog synth sounds and FM sounds with. Maybe let's start with the all-over architecture of the synth. As you can see here, there are 16 channels, also like MIDI channels, which can each have 1 sound engine with 1 sound mounted, and those can be layered and split across 1 or multiple keyboards. So, like similar to many other synth workstations out there, there are so-called programs here, which are basically saved sounds or layers of sounds on these 16 MIDI channels. And each sounds can have up to 8 scenes with different split and layer configurations. So you can deactivate different engines or activate different engines and split them across the keyboard. And in between those scenes, when you switch between those scenes, there are smooth transitions, which mean that when you hold the keys and you switch scene, the sound will still play until you release it, and then it will play a new sound. I'll demonstrate that later maybe. Now, after explaining the structure, let's start with the most rudimental engine by now, which is the sampler engine. The samples have to be are stored in an XML-based format and in WAV files. And I also programmed the utility for me to sample my keyboards. I'm gonna play a piano sound now, which is not perfect, but will work. And I sampled this from my Nord Stage 3, so unfortunately I cannot provide you with the sample because this would be illegal. I can only use it for my personal purpose because I purchased the keyboard. But I can play it for you, so take a listen. And now my cat just hopped on. I'm sorry. This engine just plays back recorded samples from my other keyboard of different velocity layers, also not just different volumes, but also different recorded sounds, because they sound not only quieter but also softer when played gently, like this. It's a bit hard on this keyboard. Now let's go to some more interesting engine. Let's go to the organ engine. You can see here on the display, I hope you can read it, some classic switches you might recognize from different B3 emulations or from the real thing. We have these drawbars here which control the different harmonics of the sound, and we can pull them in. Like maybe I'll play a chord for you. And you can hear them, the higher harmonics get muted, for example. And you can also turn on percussion. Of course, there's a rotary speaker emulation. You can hear it move. We can also switch the rotary between slow and fast. So I'm playing slow. I also added an amplifier simulation, which adds an overdrive to your sound, which is especially important when you're playing with rock organ sounds. So let's turn it on and crank up the drive. You can hear it overdrive nicely. And we can also change the tone, which is basically a low-pass filter. Softer tone, or a not so soft tone. It also distorts much more if we put out higher drawbars, for example. You can also control all these controls on using MIDI, for example using these sliders. Now let's move on to the next section, the synthesizer. I also made a short video about it already where I showed the sounds. So the architecture of the synth is a little bit, I actually updated it a little bit after the video. It's a little bit complicated, so I might not go too much into detail. But basically they are oscillators with the oscillator related stuff like the direct oscillator stuff, like the waveform. And so on. Volume or oscillator sync, for example. Let's go to a saw wave again, I think it sounds the nicest with sync. You can also change the pitch. And all these properties can be modulated, so if you turn up this LFO value, you can add vibrato, for example. If you activate an LFO, maybe not that much, this will sound pretty harsh then, I think. Something like this. I still need to use the correct scale for those modulation values. This is also something I should make. So if we activate the LFO here, go to the modulation, and select triangle wave. Triangle wave. Frequency of about, don't know, yeah, something like this. Then it will sound like this. And if we turn the volume down, here it's not there anymore. And if we turn the CC influence of the volume up, CC modulation, we can use the mod wheel to introduce modulation. We can change this to any MIDI CC code, so you could use all of those knobs too. So there's also an operator sections which controls not so all the stuff that is not directly associated with the oscillators, so envelopes and also filters and panning, for example. And you can also group multiple oscillators into one operator using this here. To, for example, if you want to have multiple oscillators detuned or something, and you want them all to have the same envelope settings so that you just have to change them once and not twice, you can group them into one operator so it's easier for you to operate. So we can add, for example, some attack and release, but maybe we'll make a little lead sound, so this is not really useful at all. So let's add the filter. This one will look nice. And reduce the cutoff. And also crank up the resonance. And now there are some audio glitches when you move and you edit parameters on the screen. This is a bug I'm also working on. I hope to fix this soon. This will not happen if you use the software on a PC, but just on the Rock Pi, because a PC has more CPU power. Some KB track, for example. A little higher filter. You could also use some drive. And we can also make it mono and add some portamento. I think now for the end, I will show you some patches I made to illustrate what you can do with this synth when you spend more time with it.